Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I just thought I would share with you a little bit of the shoe journey I've been on and talk about some Altras. I've got some Ultra Lone Peaks and Ultra Timps here. I have been having a really hard time finding shoes that fit me. I'm kind of a weirdo because my left foot is a full size smaller than my right foot, and I also have a really high instep, and I think that I have a high arch, or I used to, before I started wearing more of a flat barefoot shoe. And I've got feet that are very skinny. So you can imagine how hard it is for me to find trail runners or any type of shoe really. I used to do a lot of trail running and I used to use a Brooks shoe. I can't even remember what the Brooks shoe was called now, but I literally just every year bought the same shoe for like 6 years in a row. And it was great. I never had to think about it. And then all of a sudden Brooks decided to cancel that. They just dropped it and never used it again. I think it had 4 millimeters of drop from the front of the shoe to the back. And it had really great traction, and it was a very lightweight shoe with just a little bit of cushion. The cushion was probably about the same cushion as in a Ultra Lone Peak. So since then, I have been on a journey to try and find another pair of trail runners secure enough for my skinny feet and secure enough for my left foot, which is shorter than my right foot, to be able to trail run again on off-camber and technical trails. I've bought a ton of shoes. I've tried a ton of shoes, I've resold a ton of shoes, and I finally came to a lightweight Salomon shoe. I believe it was called the Salomon Sense Pro, and the Salomon Sense Pro had less drop, and I was realizing that the less drop I had in my shoes, the better my knees were. So the Sense Pros worked out well. I think they were like a 4 millimeter drop, and then all of a sudden Salomon canceled that shoe. I used it for 2 years and then I couldn't use it anymore, so then I was on the hunt again. But I decided I wanted to try a zero drop shoe. And I haven't looked back since because zero drop has actually helped my knee pain. I have some really bad knees. I've got meniscus tears in both knees. I've got an ACL tear in my right knee. I've got arthritis in my knees, and they're just basically a mess. And the last time I did the Rockwall Trail here in Alberta, my knees were in such pain because I had used an approach shoe that had a drop. And I realized after that that with a zero drop shoe, I was getting 80% less knee pain. So the first zero drop shoe I tried was the Ultra Superiors, and they felt really cushy and nice when they were on my feet in the store. And then when I took them for a run, they were just way too wide. And whenever I was off camber, my feet were floating all around in them. And I also wanted to start on a little bit of a barefoot journey. And so I bought a pair of zero barefoot shoes to train in. And so when I weight train, that's what I use. And I also needed a shoe for backpacking. I was using my Arc'teryx boots. They worked okay, but they slowed me down and they weren't nice on the knees because they were heavy. And because I had done a ton of trail running and I had got into ultralight gear and my pack was already down to like an 11.5 pound base weight, I decided that I could switch over to trail runners. And because I had been having such a hard time finding trail runners, I decided to go on YouTube and listen to all the thru hikers and see what they wore. And all of them were wearing the Ultra Lone Peaks at the time. So off I went, and I went down the rabbit hole of the Ultra Lone Peaks. My first pair of Ultra Lone Peaks were, I believe, these ones, which are the Ultra Lone Peak 6s. So these just ended up being really wide. They were okay if I was on flat ground, but as soon as I got off camber a little bit, my feet were kind of falling sideways in them and moving around in them way too much. And this made me think that my Ultra journey was at an end. I had no idea that Ultras had different widths for some different kinds of shoes. And so I went through a whole bunch of other shoes before I finally realized that Ultra actually has these Lone Peak mids. And these mids actually worked really well for me because with the wrap around the ankle, I could get the laces done up all the way up to the top. And the laces going to the top were actually cementing my foot inside the shoe. And because these are actually the all-weather shoes in the Ultras fit smaller and fit skinnier than the regular Ultra. So this is the original Lone Peak all-weather, and this was amazing. I backpacked all summer in them last year. I put about 300 kilometers on them. Now, you can see that these are definitely not waterproof anymore. There's a hole right here. There's a hole there on the other one too. So they did not last very long. However, they were so comfortable and so blister-free that honestly, I would have been happy to pay whatever they were asking me to pay for these things every year. I would have just paid for them over and over. And I did buy another pair. I bought the Lone Peak All-Weather 2s. And these ones I bought in the same size I bought these in, which is an 8.5, which is the same size that I bought in the Lone Peak 6s. And they are a little bit too short, so I probably should have got a 9 in these. Now the other thing with these is, I'm sure because there was a lot of people who were complaining about the issues with these blowing out in the front, they made the uppers a lot stiffer. Not only the uppers, but it feels like the sole is stiffer too. I haven't asked Altra if that's the case, but it feels that way. And not only is the sole stiffer, but back here is stiffer as well. I don't know if you can see that, but if I push here, my finger's hardly pushing in. But if I go to this one and push there, it's pushing in a lot more. So you can see there's a lot less structure here around the ankle than here. This one's a lot stiffer. You can see a lot more structure here as well compared to this one here. So they made this a lot sturdier, a little bit more like a regular boot than just a squishy runner. So I tried these this winter. I tried them a few times and they felt really good, probably about the first 3 or 4 times that I was in them. They did feel a little bit short. I would definitely recommend going up a half a size at least in these. All of a sudden I was starting to get pain at the back of my Achilles. And I was like, wow, that's weird, because I went all summer in these and never had an issue at all. So it can't be the shoe. So I gave myself a week off of wearing the shoes. My Achilles went back to normal and I thought, okay, I'm going to try them again. So I did it again. And again, my Achilles started hurting. And I was like, what on earth? Maybe it is the shoe. So I did it again. I gave myself a week off of wearing the shoe and I went back to normal again. And then I decided to try them one more time, which was really silly because now my Achilles is at a point where I'm having to do a bunch of rolling and a bunch of stretching to try and get it back to normal. And it's not going back to normal right away like it did before. This, for some reason, I'm assuming it's because of all the structure here and because the sole is stiffer. These did not work out for me for my Achilles at all. I may just end up selling these. I've probably worn them about 9 times, so somebody's going to get a really good deal on these, I think. Or I'll keep them for my kids. I'm not sure. We'll see, because my kids are growing fast. But now you know the difference between the all-weathers in the all-weather 1 and the all-weather 2. I'm hoping that Altra is going to watch this video and realize that they made these a little bit too burly. The whole point to people using Altras for hiking boots is because we want a more natural feel and we want something that's very runner-like. And these are definitely not as runner-like as they could be. I mean, they were really nice in the winter because I couldn't feel any cold through them. They were really warm, even though they don't have any insulation. They just have the waterproof membrane inside, but I can't wear them. My daughter has a pair of 8s and she hasn't had any issue, but she hasn't been wearing them repetitively. I'm gonna have to get her to wear them like 4 days in a row and see if they give her any issues, because we're going to do the West Coast Trail this year and I'm really hoping that we can all find a pair of high top waterproof boots, because the West Coast Trail does get a lot of rain. Now, one other thing that wasn't awesome about these, I love that they're waterproof, but on the really hot hikes, I did have an issue with hot feet, and with hot feet comes stinky feet. So Altra does make a hiking version now of the Lone Peak, which is, I think, more pliable like this shoe, but it doesn't have the waterproof membrane inside. And I actually ordered a pair of those, and I'm hoping that those are going to be really good for me if they're a little more pliable. So far, all of the YouTube reviews say that they are. There aren't a lot of reviews actually on the high top version of these runners. I don't know if people don't buy them or what, but it's really hard to find information on them. So we will see when they come. I mean, I can always update you guys and let you know if they are a little more pliable. Unfortunately, they're not waterproof though, so I was still looking for a waterproof boot. So one more thing I want to say about the Ultra Lone Peaks is I have the Ultra Lone Peak 7s here. And these are actually the men's, because the men's Ultra Lone Peak 7s are all on sale at Winners now for $69. I don't know if they just had overstock or something and send them to Winners, but I got these in a 7.5 men's. And this upper for this year's version, I think this is this year's version. This upper is a little bit stiffer than this upper, just like the Lone Peak all-weathers were. And they're also less wide. I don't know if Ultra did that on purpose or what, or if I somehow got a wide, but I don't think so in these shoes. but there's quite a bit of difference. I took these on one walk so far. I just bought them like 2 days ago. I took them on one dog walk so far, and these worked really well for me. I was super surprised. And it's even the men's. I assumed that the women's would be a lot skinnier than the men's, but for some reason, the men's is a lot skinnier. And these might be my backpacking shoes this year. I need to take them out, of course, on a couple of hikes. I'm going tomorrow to test these shoes out of pack, and we will see how that goes. I want to know if my feet are going to swim around in these on the downhill. But so far, so good. I did hear a lot of people on YouTube complaining that the Altras got skinnier. And I tell you, I'm definitely not complaining about that. I think it was the best thing they could have ever done to these Altras. But of course, I mean, I'm kind of a special use case with my skinny feet. Now let's come to the Timps. I was down in an area of Calgary one day that had a shoe store, and I randomly thought, I should walk over there and see what they've got in stock. And they had the Ultra Timps. I had no idea that Altra had a shoe that was skinnier than the Lone Peaks. And when I put these on to try them, I was very pleasantly surprised. These have a little bit thicker sole, but they're definitely skinnier than the Lone Peaks, and they fit me very, very well. I'm not 100% keen on the thicker sole, but hey, they don't move on my feet, and they're working well for me so far. So at the moment, these are my trail runners for everything. They're still not as stable as I would like when I'm running up to the top of a mountain and combining like a scramble with a run. They're still not technical enough. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like there's any company out there that makes a really technical shoe that has a zero drop, that has enough cushion that I'm not going to feel the rocks through the bottom. I'm really hoping that some company is going to make a zero drop approach shoe. That would be amazing. Or like ALTRAS just came out with a shoe that's a combination of a runner and approach shoe for that kind of running. But for some reason, ALTRAS has everything at 8mm drop or 6mm drop. They're missing an entire group of the population that likes to wear zero drop shoes. I really think that they and other companies that make technical shoes should be thinking about adding at least one zero drop approach shoe or zero drop trail runner to what they make. So the other day I stumbled upon something that I think is new for this year. These are the Ultra Timp mids, and these are all weathers as well. I bought these in the same size that I normally buy, which is an 8.5, and unfortunately they were super small. So I sent them back and I got a 9, and they fit great in the length and they're a really nice width, but it's really strange because they hurt me right on the top of my foot, right here. Not on this shoe, actually, not on my left foot, because of course my left foot is the smaller foot, but on my right foot, right here. And I even changed the laces up so that the laces are coming out this way and going over the top instead of underneath like they are here, which helped a little bit. I still need like 1 or 2 millimeters extra in the top because I have a foot that's really high here. I don't understand it because these, the Ultra Timps, don't hurt my foot at all, and they're absolutely perfect. I'm assuming that it's because these have the waterproof membrane, and the waterproof membrane makes everything smaller. I've seen this so many times in companies where as soon as they put a waterproof membrane in a shoe, they don't adjust how the shoe fits. When they put in that membrane takes up a lot more room in the shoe. So with a lot of these companies, you have to buy them longer. And then when they're longer, sometimes they didn't adjust for the width. So just buying something longer is not going to help that. I'm really hoping that next year, Altra is going to adjust these. So they're also accounting for the room that the waterproof membrane is taking up around the upper of the shoe. Because these right now will only fit people with really skinny feet and really low volume feet. I am still on the fence. I am not sure if I'm going to actually try these out or if I'm going to send them back. I think I've requested a return already. I got these at Altitude Sports. I'm hesitant to get a 9.5. I'm sure the 9.5 would alleviate things so that the right foot fits exactly like my left foot fits right now. But when I do that, my left foot is going to swim around. Now, my left foot already has 2 fingers in front of my toe, and my right foot has about 1 thumb in front of the toe. So that's really how Altras are supposed to fit. So I'm really hesitant to get the bigger size, but I might. We'll see. I might even just try these and see if that hot spot produces a blister or if maybe the shoe will stretch. It's painful enough though that I'll likely just send these back. The other thing that is a serious mystery is the shoelaces. When I put this shoe on, I can barely get these shoelaces done up. Let me show you. I don't know if you guys can see this, but that's all I've got. And you can see that there's a lot of space here on either side, which means that my really skinny feet are hardly even fitting into these skinny shoes. And I've got some of the skinniest feet around. Now they have gotten a tiny bit wider because I think my arch is dropping since I've been wearing these zero drop shoes, but still they're pretty skinny. See, I could hardly get that bow in there, little tiny bow, and I've got like nothing left on either side. Altra, why on earth did you make the laces so small? I'm gonna have to get different laces, longer boot laces for these, because there's just no way that I'm gonna be able to deal with that, because the other thing about Altras is the laces always seem to come undone, and you definitely have to double knot them. I can barely get a single bow in that. There's no way that I could double knot it. It looks like the waterproof membrane in the Timps is actually Gore-Tex because it says it right on the back, Timp Gore-Tex. Oh, and there's the little Gore-Tex tag. Let's see if the rest of them have the little Gore-Tex tag. Nope, no Gore-Tex tag. So maybe that's the first version that's actually Gore-Tex. I haven't used the Timp in the water yet, obviously, because I haven't worn it outside because I want to maybe send it back. But these all-weathers are very waterproof as long as they don't have a hole in them after 300 kilometers, like the Lone Peak all-weather ones. Very nice to hike in the rain. The other nice thing about these is they're super easy to get on and off. So if you have to go to the washroom in the middle of the night, you can just slip them on real quick, open them up, and they're really easy to get in and out of, which is nice. And they're the first shoes that I've worn that are comfy enough that you actually want to keep them on at camp instead of putting on your slippers. I used to always want to get my shoes off at camp as fast as possible as soon as I got there, but now it doesn't bother me at all just to keep my shoes on. Another shoe that I tried in my journey was the North Face Fastpack Vectives. Unfortunately, they didn't last very long. I think I wore them on 5 hiking trips, and the midsole on them just totally packed out. You could even see creases in it. And then I could feel every single rock through them. So I didn't buy them again for myself. I did start buying them for my son, and he loves them. I bought a couple pairs in different sizes because they were on sale, and they're working out well for him. But he's a lot lighter than I am, so the midsole's not wearing out. And then after that is when I decided to go for the Ultra Lone Peaks. Thanks so much for hanging out with me and talking about gear. If you like this video, make sure that you click the like button and subscribe so that you don't miss next week's new gear that I would love to try that I can't afford video.